I call to order this special called business meeting for end-of-year matters for the Harris County Board of Public Education, June 29th, 2023. Would all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. All right, thank you. Sorry we're late, but we'll get this thing moving. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda's approved. Consent agenda. I'll take a motion to approve consent.
Move we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second? Ms. Norman won that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. We have no old business today. We have lots of, well, not lots, we have a couple new business items, and this is what we like to call the Mr. Bernie Socha Show. So take it away.
Morning.
Good morning, sir.
I like seeing you guys here in the morning. That's nice.
I know, right?
Well, thanks for coming out this morning so we can wrap our year up. I appreciate it. So let's see, what's the first thing on the agenda? Interim budget resolution. Yes, so this is the interim budget resolution so that we can legally pay invoices and people until we have our initial budget approved, whenever the state gets their information to us. There is nothing too scientific about the numbers that you see in there. It is the current budget we have, actually divided in half, just so we can get us through as late as December if need be. The differences are a little bit different for federal because that is specific grants, and the capital outlay budget is presented in full for the year that was approved for you guys. So we have the entire capital outlay budget in there so that they can get started on every project. I'll take any questions if you have them.
Nope, no questions. I always find it interesting that we have to have this, we have to have this done on this date, yet the state, I think one time in the past 7 years has had a budget on time.
I can recall one time in I think the 20 years I've been doing this, they've had it.
Interesting. Questions on any of this? All right, if there are none, I will take the motion that's in front of you.
I move that the Henderson County Board of Public Education approve the 2023-2024 interim budget resolution as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thanks, sir. Next, micro purchase threshold.
Yeah, doesn't that sound exciting?
Yeah, amazing.
It is to us, because what this allows us to do is for any of our federal funds where the legal requirement is for anything over $10,000 that it go out to bid, and as you know, $10,000 does not buy very much anymore. So what they have done is put this little caveat in there so that we can, with your approval, anything that is up to $30,000 for materials and such like that, or $50,000 for purchase or for services, excuse me, that we can do without having to go out to formal bid stuff. So this is an annual thing that we have to do every year. We have to have this approval to use $30,000 and $50,000, which is lined with our regular board policies for all of our regular purchases. So that puts federal, state, and local guidelines all to be the same at $30,000 and $50,000 for bid requirements. So that's what this resolution is for, to allow us to use those same thresholds.
So this is not a change.
This is not a change. This is the same one. This is the third year, I believe, that we've had to do this.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on this? If there are none, I'll take a motion. Where's your motion at? Can you scroll up? Or maybe down?
I don't think it's on here.
Yeah, it's not because it's a resolution, so,
Oh, it's just a resolution, not actual.
Yep.
Yep, well, I'll make a motion to adopt this resolution as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? She's passed. All right. Next contract's in excess of $90,000.
All right. Per board policy 6420, anything over $90,000 needs to come here first. The first on the list there is CDWG. It's actually a purchase. That is, I hear the chair behind me. That is our technology to purchase Chromebooks, 750 Chromebooks. That will come to $247,000, actually. It's going to be under the state contract pricing with the Sourcewell. So that's what, for bid purposes, we have state contract pricing that we're going to be using. This will be an assortment of reasons we're having to do the replacement. It's just that time of year. We need to get them replaced. So if we will have them in for school to start, whether they've not been returned, hopefully they still will over the summer. But in case they don't, we have a handful that have been a total loss of the device that need to be replaced, and then there's a large number of them which are devices that were now, as they've told me, are called our COVID Chromebooks. When they started putting them out in the quick, that those have just flat out no longer work. So we need to get those replaced. So that's what this order is for, so that they can get 750 new ones. And these will also come with a 3-year warranty as well. That's kind of the big thing that we've done ever since our ESSER funds have kicked in. We've put 3-year warranties on them all so that we can get them replaced at their cost and not ours.
This in addition to the other CDW contract that we had, this is the same contract, right?
That was for like desktop.
For the desktops.
Right. This is just Chromebooks.
Expensive Chromebooks. I mean, they're not expensive, they're $200. At 750 as your quantity, that's when they start getting a little chunky.
Something that could have been,
Yeah.
something that could have been done that we've switched to the way we operate is these could have had a longer warranty put on them, but until we got to that COVID year, we really didn't have that many manufacturer issues. But they had probably less staffing and the most orders they've ever had, so the ones that they were putting out the door have had issues that we kind of had hanging around where they'll just kind of die out, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They probably lowered their quality standards of what they were putting out. So we, by default, now get 3-year warranties to help those issues mitigate themselves. But that's what a large chunk of these are whenever I started to go back through the data that are not really attributed to a student. I mean, sometimes with those specific Chromebooks, you can just set them down and the connections in there's an issue with the manufacturing that it'll kill the device, basically.
I think most electronics now, I don't know about you guys, but my phone, as soon as that 2 years is up, likes to just start.
To the date.
Oh, on the date. It just, the fritz, it goes nuts. So it might be everybody's manufacturing
To a
processes.
certain degree, but I think to a large degree with Dell in the past, and that's what we stuck with Dell and tried to get Dells because they've had a good quality over the
Yeah.
years. But when 2020 hit, they were just trying to get everything out the door they could get out the door. So
Well, what I would ask you then, with that being the case, of course, we need to get some more Chromebooks, but if this is going to continue,
yeah,
then we need to look somewhere else to buy our equipment, right?
as far as a different brand, it's a possibility. The unfortunate thing is I think so when you look at all the pieces that make a Chromebook,
They're all made in the same place.
the motherboards usually are all the same. They just sell to one vendor will make it.
NVIDIA, Broadcom, or somebody makes it and sticks it
So
on.
when we've tried to evaluate in the past and compare like a Dell to a different brand, like an Acer is another one that's off the top of my head, usually the other build quality factors, like the things on the outside, the ability to get scratched up and things like that, or keyboard get messed up, is a lot easier on some of the other devices we've looked at versus what we get with the Dell. So we can continue to evaluate it, but in the past, the issue usually right now is usually tied to the motherboard, but those end up usually being the same motherboard that's been sold to a bunch of vendors.
Well, I'll just ask you this. Like everything else, quality is going to come and go with various companies depending
Right.
on what's going on. So your job is to just make sure that you are bringing to us what you think is the best quality
Yeah.
product for our students to have.
Yeah, I don't have a commitment to Dell, so as we continue to buy these, I'll continue to evaluate whatever the best option is.
Good enough for me.
Has there ever been a consideration of purchasing like some kind of case or cover for the kids who are bringing it back and forth?
So we had, that were purchased during COVID, I'd call them more of a bag that was purchased. I'd stretch to call it a case, but it's more of a bag, just so they could carry it outside of the book bag and things like that. We've not replenished that. Some schools ended up using them, some don't until right now. The cases, I think it would just be a cost factor of buying 13,000 of those, and what that would take to get like a quality case that's really gonna help with any kind of damage that may happen from like a drop.
'Cause I see the students coming into my office, I'm like, I'm surprised that these even make it a year, you know? They're like banging it along the walls as they're walking into, you know, or, oh, I left it in my car and it's like under their seat somewhere, and
Right.
it just seems like maybe that we could get a little more
Damage
life.
has went up ever since we had them start taking them home, but I think sometimes that's just a trade-off for part of having that as something they can do.
But we're not having our elementary kids typically take this home anymore,
3 through 5 can,
but they typically don't.
I would say probably not on the whole. It's really up to the school, but like K2, unless they just, like, if there's a child that really needs to have one, they can certainly make that available to them at the principal's discretion, but 3 through 5 has the ability, but again, it's up to what the class is doing and a lot of factors.
Are you seeing, like, is there any more damage based on, like, the high school kids, middle school kids, elementary school kids, or is it just across the board?
Elementary is definitely less, just because I think, like you're saying,
They have them less.
they're not taking them and transporting them and doing things like that as much, maybe. Middle and high it's all over the map. I mean, some schools have less than others. It just depends on the school and the number of enrollments and things like that.
Are we charging those kids if they damage a computer at the end of the year? Is there a fee? Is there something that,
So we do a damage
recourse?
assessment. Everything that my guys can tell can genuinely say this looks like it's a user-caused issue and not some of these other factors. We generate a damage assessment. I deliver that to the school through a portal, and then they're working through contacting families and trying to get repaid on that. The success rate is not super high, but this is also the first year that we're actually going, not just like if you lost a device, but if there's kind of damage.
how many of those did you send out?
I don't know off the top of my head how many the school.
Estimate. 50, 100,000?
As far as damage, probably 400 to 500, maybe,
Oh.
as far as like a damage incident.
That's a big number.
Yeah.
Is there any way we could look at the cost of buying cases just for middle and high school?
Well, yeah. So what's a decent case, 10, 20 bucks, I would imagine, right? More like 50.
Oh. No, they do
If you
not.
think about like, so an OtterBox or a good case for a phone.
Well, Otterbox, sure.
Yeah, but
What about
even if you're thinking of a bigger device
Muskrat. Or a muskrat box.
on a cheaper, like a non-branded thing, it's gonna, the size of the device and all that goes into
Yeah.
that, the cost is gonna be that much probably. I mean, we can look into it, but I don't know off the top of my head, even if it was 35, what that would be for.
So talk to me, you may not know this. You said our recovery rate's not that great.
Or like a damage fee.
Yeah, tell me about that. What do you,
The last I looked at the end of school, it was around 10%.
oh,
Now, I will say that going into this year, it took us a few months to get that portal up and available. So they gave them some leeway as far as really just going after the high numbers. So like device totally destroyed and things like that. So I anticipate that will change next year, but I don't know what the ceiling of what that amount we can really expect to keep recovering, if that makes sense.
One of the things is I don't think we're as organized on that as we should have been, and we now are moving forward, so that'll make that a much better process.
We've never really been set up to mass collect money from students in this kind of way, so it took a while to navigate.
yeah, I mean, we didn't have this many computers for all of our students, 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Right. So one piece of it that, we were waiting on us getting the portal done, they have the ability now to pay online, not just for this, but all these other things. There was a system that went into place for like field trip costs and all those things that went online, but
So what's the repercussion if they don't pay? Mr. Garrett?
Well, that's, at the school level, they handle that, so, I mean,
So it sounds like none, right, if it's 10%?
based on that return rate, that doesn't sound like a lot. But again, that's one of those things that as we look at the summer and look at preparing for 23, 24, because we now are set up to be able to do it, and we know that that's priority, that'll be much improved.
Do we have, and I don't know if I do or not, my wife probably knows this better than I do, do we have students sign anything at like the beginning of the year, or parents sign anything at the beginning of the year as to the damage, potential damage that could happen on one of our devices?
It's been put in the student code of conduct, but then some schools, on a school-by-school basis, they've created their own, like, school-based.
Yeah, I like that, but I don't like a school-based form. I like a standard form for everybody, and I think that's something that we should look into. If one, because first of all, we've seen some astronomical numbers on how much we're gonna have to spend here to replace devices, right? Like huge numbers, and it's never gonna stop. It's not gonna stop. So why don't we look at producing something from your office that can try to protect us a little bit better? Now, listen, I'm not one, if a kid damages a thing and he hasn't paid yet and their family might not be able to pay, not letting them walk for graduation or something like that. But there has to be some sort of repercussion for damaging something that's not yours.
Well, and we need to make sure that everybody knows up front too.
That's where it starts. You have to have something up
this
front.
is what happens.
You break it, this is the deal. This is how much it costs if you break the screen, if you pluck off the K's and the J's off your, whatever.
Yeah.
And I would love to see some kind of opportunity for parents or grandparents to buy insurance to cover damages, or a technology fee to cover.
Is that an option?
I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
Is that an option?
There are insurance that exist, but we've never pursued it, so I'm not 100% sure on all the details and caveats of that, but.
So having a little experience with this previously, I have both insured and then what we called self-insured. It was much cheaper on everybody to self-insure and manage it internally by saying the screen is X, keyboard damage is this, total destruction is this, and then you manage those funds internally. Because the cost benefit of going to a third party,
Might not even get paid back.
well, you really don't come out, and in some cases, it ends up charging parents more, which I don't want to charge them any more than we have to. They just need to be accountable for what those costs are.
So you're saying we charge a technology fee, a base technology fee, all the money goes into a pot for repairs?
Yeah, that's one way you can do it,
Okay.
or you can just set up to pay as you go on those damages. What I've seen some districts do is, on the rotation, as you come into ninth grade, it's X for the usage fee that covers the 4 years. If you come in as a sophomore, it's a little less. Come in as a junior, it's a little less. And then that gives you a pool to self-insure from on accidental. And then anything that is easily known that's negligence or true destruction would still be paid by the student for that accountability piece.
Yeah, because I think if you go the other route, like a technology fee, I think we already pay a technology fee through our taxes that pay for these devices to begin with. I think it's simply negligence. You're dropping it, you're breaking it, you're not taking care of it. I guarantee you they're not treating their phones like that. Right? So if you break our stuff, we just need to make sure, I'd like to see before our August meeting, some type of form that is standard that says if this happens, it costs X or whatever.
Yeah, we do have a fee schedule as far as what we publish last
Well,
year.
I want it standard.
That's fine, yeah.
Not North has a
Right.
letter, this one's got a thing.
Those prices, I mean, they are districts. I mean, they've set them for
Oh,
the
okay.
district. It's just who hands them out separately from the student.
Well, it's like, I mean, Mr. Garrett has said this a lot, really, it's really not the policy or the administrative procedure, it's like, is everybody rowing the same way? I want to make sure that we understand that this is extremely expensive on how we're paying for all of these devices. It's never going to stop, at least in my estimation, from here going forward. And there has to be some recourse if you are actively destroying our equipment. Period.
Do we have a lot of students who lose their laptops?
I guess it's your definition of lose, so not going to school one day and
Yeah, I
they
mean-
let them borrow one, that happens.
No, I mean, like, never see it again.
From the top of my head, so it depends on how many of these come back that are kind of in limbo right now. So we have about 230-ish right now that have not come back. Those could have been lost months ago, or they could be at their home right now. That was identified during the school year because we kind of have to wait and see if it turns up in a classroom or whatever. There was about 30, but some of those were just never notified and went through the whole school year as far as skating by, if you get what I'm saying, with whether they borrowed another device or whatever the case might be. So I guess it just depends. Some of those 230 will come back. They're definitely with families right now, and they've got them for one reason or another, whether they think that they were supposed to take them home for because of the way we did it before. I've had a couple of parents, I feel like, have told me that through the comments on there. But some of them we've approved to take home for online classes, depending on the case by case. But there's just a lot of reasons all over the map.
230 devices times $280 is $64,400.
Yeah. I would say,
A lot of money.
Yeah.
All right. I think we beat this horse. Please make us some type of form, standard. Let's check it out in August, and then we can make a decision on if the wording or whatever suffices to us. Cool. Thank you, sir. Bayada.
All right, Bayada, yes. This is a company that we have been using for a few years now. We had to go out to bid again. The contract was up. We had actually 9 responses this year, and Bayada won the bid as the source for nursing services. This is for our exceptional children program, that if a student comes in, requires nursing care, that we have the ability to provide a nurse for them. We contact Bayada, tell them we have one. This is in here because there's a potential. It could be up to $200,000. We didn't spend any this past year. 9,000 last year. Right before COVID, we had 125,000. It's really just having somebody on retainer, basically, so that as soon as we have a student show up who needs nursing care all day long while they're in school, that we can contact them. They'll provide 1 nurse per student, and we have that coverage. So we'll see. A lot of the kids haven't come back from COVID. A lot of the kids that require nursing services have stayed at home.
This is
That's
just
why.
pass-through funds typically too, right?
And we'll get allotted funds for this, yeah.
Okay. Questions on this one? All right, next.
The other one is Daikin. That is for our HVAC service contract. We've been using them. They provide great customer service. Maintenance is very happy with what they have done. Again, they use co-op pricing, so we have a good set of pricing on there. It is $134,000 for the year. If you go through the documents there, there's 138 different units that they would be servicing at different levels of the repairs that they might be doing. But again, this is just a service contract to continue another round with them. And they comes at the recommendation of the maintenance department.
How many units again?
There's 138 listed in this agreement with Daikin.
Why don't they service, there's like, I don't know, I was reading somewhere, 4 or 5 schools. North, Apple Valley, Clear Creek, Glen Marlow, Henderson Middle. They don't service any Train or actually their own chillers, Daikin, McQuay, ALS chillers.
I don't know all of the different devices that Chad has for those.
Who's servicing those?
Either our maintenance department services within who we have on staff, or we then have to hire someone from the outside to come in. I know when we think about Glen Marlow, North, and Apple Valley, those are chillers that are aging out. And so that would be why they're not part of this service contract. Those are ones that when we look at the upcoming HVAC needs in our district, those schools are the ones that are going to be very.
The only thing I found funny is that it's their chiller.
That they don't do their own, yeah.
Like, how does that make sense?
I'm sure it's related to the age of the equipment, and they're not, part of the service agreement is a win-win. In terms of we win in terms of the support that they provide, and it's at a cost point that they feel comfortable with.
Yeah. HVAC's always interesting. The Freon's always out every 2 or 3 years, and you got to buy something new, but whatever. Okay. Any other questions?
That's all we have for those.
All right. I'll take a motion to approve these contracts.
I make a motion to approve the 3 contracts just presented, CDW, Yada, and Yankton.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right.
All right. I
Thank you, sir. You're done.
Thank you.
Good job.
Been a good year. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. All right, next up is going to be a discussion. We have, and I believe everybody received an email. Did everybody receive that email? From a parent, or maybe it was just me and you. I don't remember. Asking us to look at this. Also, the North Carolina School Boards Association has asked us to look at this, and this relates to some legislation that's potentially out there that would potentially take some funding from public schools and steer it towards private schools that don't have a lot of the, well, don't have any of the requirements that we have, such as taking every single student as long as they are of age to be a student and live in Henderson County, amongst other things. So myself and Mr. Garrett talked about this quite a bit. The School Board Association sent us a resolution. We changed it a little bit to fit what I feel is more Henderson County. And where is that at? That is down towards the bottom, wasn't it?
There was some specific data,
Yeah, that we didn't want to put in there.
and it's on page 2, second to last whereas.
The 2006, 2027.
Yeah, so that's the estimate from the Office of Budget Management on what the scholarship expansion and how much it could impact each individual county. So I just pulled the Henderson County numbers that they projected. Some districts are looking at, it could be up to 4% or 5% of their state funding, depending on the size of the district and some of the other factors that are there. So it would have a very significant impact. And this is also related to the State Board of Ed's chair letter that I shared in my weekly update as well. So all these same, this is what's being talked about around several organizations, the contents anyway.
Of course, I got a couple thoughts. Number one, I'm not a fan of resolutions. Resolutions don't mean, they're not worth the paper they're written on. I'm not sure that anybody in the legislature is going to look at this and read this and be like, oh, it's kind of like trying to change somebody's mind on Facebook. You can argue till you're blue in the face. It's not going to change anybody's mind. But with that being said, we do stand to lose quite a bit of funding to organizations that clearly violate that separation of church and state type deal. And I think it's important. So we kind of batted back and forth on whether we were going to put this on the agenda in early June, and we kind of came up with it to put it here. So open for discussion. Hope you all read it. Hope you have some thoughts on it, and then we can decide as a board if we want to send this to all of the people or not. So I'll open the floor to whoever wants to talk about it.
I agree with you with resolutions. I just think that silence sometimes, is saying we're okay with this, we're okay with millions of dollars going to schools that are discriminatory. I mean, that's basically what we're saying if we don't say that this is wrong. I mean, those articles that you send us all the time, Mr. Garrett, are fantastic, but I was reading through them and I'm like, how does this make sense that we're funding schools that are discriminatory based on race, gender, color? I mean, this is insane. So even if this resolution, the only thing it does is that we think this is wrong, I think we need to send it.
Okay. Anybody else? All right.
I mean, I'm like, this is.
Turn your mic on, please, sir.
Okay. Who is this being sent to?
So typically, this is going to be sent to our legislators, senators. We'll be able to post it online. We can send it to whoever you want to send it to.
That's a whole lot of reading. And that's the point, that paragraph.
There's some other points in there.
Well, I mean, could you, I'm just saying, could we make it smaller? Because what I do is I put it smaller and I give it to all three of the people, and then I call them and say, how you voting? Is what I do. Because I let them know that I'm sending them something, and then they read it, and then I'm like, you know, do you have an issue? Do you have a problem? How are you voting? And they tell me, and you know, that's what I do. But I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah. I do agree with you to a certain point. I mean, there's a whereas on here, parents have shown their appreciation for our public schools by voting with their feet. Nearly 8 in 10 North Carolina school-age children attend public schools. Does that need to be in there? I don't know.
I mean, this is like it's 4 pages. I mean,
It's
two,
2.5.
why? Yeah.
There is
I
redundancy.
make the point, and then.
It could be more concise.
It could be. Like I said, this came, the outline came from the School Boards Association, and we amended and made changes, but we did not get rid of any of the whereases. We just kind of amended the whereases to fit Henderson County, and then we presented it to you guys. So it's up to us to do whatever we want.
So part of the motivation of just plug and play in this one is this is a sample that has gone to all of the districts, all 115 districts in the state. Different boards have adopted different versions of it. Some have adopted their own version. This is just a starting point. One option you could employ if you would like would be to instruct us to modify. You could adopt and instruct it to be modified. I could share it out before then y'all can share with whomever you would like or direct us then. I just wanted to do this in this public setting so that folks know that this information is out there. There are some concerns from some groups. Give you the chance to talk about it and see what directive you might have for us to send whatever message it is you would like to send collectively as a board. We're happy to cut and dice, and I tend to be more succinct with the things that I like to pass along, but somebody took a long time, so we thought we'd throw it out here and let you see it.
Attorneys get paid by the word. The only problem I have with the budget's supposed to be done July 1. We know that's not going to happen, but it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Maybe. So we really need to, if we're going to send out some type of resolution, it needs to be pretty quick, right? This week, quick. And so I am A-okay with slicing and dicing what's not needed in there. But what are we advising him to slice and dice, I guess is kind of my question.
There are 3 that are talking about the value of education in the workforce in North Carolina. So we obviously want to say that, but I don't think we need to say it 3 times. If you look at the second one, the third one, again, contributing members to their communities. And then on the next page, there's another one that talks about workforce. Maybe I was on page 3.
Yeah,
Definitely goes back to like workforce and
the
creative.
child care one, I'm not really sure why that's there, to be honest.
Right.
Well, remember that this one is titled Prioritize Public Schools.
it
So
has-
that's
why?
the premise of this whole thing is talking about prioritizing public schools, which includes, some child care, some pre-K things, some of those things that feed in. But if you're wanting to send a specific message, we can actually craft that as well. This is just a very general, hey, in your budget, we really hope that you'll prioritize public schools, some of which includes the voucher program, but some of which includes also investing in teacher pay, thinking about support staff pay, thinking about a living wage in a lot of your, bus drivers and all of those pieces too. It's not just specifically about maybe what you're concerned or a specific concern, but really, folks, we know that we are number 1 in the nation for business. We know we've got a record surplus. We know that we show a good return on your investment with public schools. Do you want to use this to make that investment? And that's what this resolution does. If you want to see something more specific, we can do that as well.
I mean, I would feel comfortable with you whittling it down. I mean, you could find the redundancy. Maybe even taking out this North Carolina parents already have great choices when it comes to their child's K-12 education, whether that's public schools, public charter schools, or private schools. I mean, why do we need to say that?
No. Anybody else have any comments on this?
I just think we need to recraft this and from our perspective, and let the superintendent or you and the superintendent do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm fine with sending something. I think if, we represent the families in this county, they put us in this place to kind of be that voice of, there is a concern that we and a lot of the parents are having, then we should absolutely, be that voice. That's kind of, that's what we're here for, the purpose. So I'm absolutely fine. We have a concern. Parents have a concern. Let's say that, whether it does anything or not. At the state level, that's out of our hands, but we will do our due diligence to, speak for our families. But I do think if the opportunity for us to craft one better that we, feel like represents us better, we have some people that are skilled to do that. I'm for that.
Ms. Bridges? Okay. All right, I would go ahead then and like to tell the superintendent to craft us a more concise, succinct resolution. And I know it's early on Thursday. I would really like to have this done by Friday at 5 or 6 p.m. if possible, because we know you need to get away for a few days, so next week, and then next week's a holiday anyways, right? I'd like to have this sent out the door if possible by tomorrow. Is that possible?
Yes, sir.
And remember, the staff does not work on Friday.
I think you could use this one. I don't think
Yeah.
you need to spend, 12 hours of the
Well,
the next.
Let's send it.
the two main whereas I hear the concerns are right there back to back about parents having great choices and voting with their feet, which is superfluous.
Yeah, send
We
it
trust
to
your
us.
judgment.
Send it to us, everybody,
If this structure is okay
Yes,
and
sir.
this sentiment is okay, I can edit down and
Perfect.
let you see it.
yep,
Is that a specific bill, the private school voucher program?
yes, sir, that's what
Yes.
this all is about.
What it called,
Well, you
yeah.
might want to put on their SB
Oh,
and number.
There's an HB
It's-
and an SB.
That's right. You might want to put that in there because I will call our people and say, hey,
About
how are you
specific bill.
voting on this specific bill?
Okay,
But I don't know what that specific bill is.
Okay.
the
So
the number of the
they
bills.
They could use the specific.
All right, duly noted. He's got his marching orders and he will.
I got notes.
For us. All right, next is going to be general operations. Do you want to handle this first? Do you want to go, where do you want to go?
I'll do that after.
Okay, sure, yeah, okay.
So general operations, let me find my tab here. Certainly excited to hear and really applaud our finance department for getting us to this point in the year. You all have budgeted well, managed well, so congratulations, Mr. Socia and the crew, all of the crew. They work diligently, and then the last 2 weeks of June, they work over diligently. So we appreciate that. July 13th, we have the first day of school for students on the Flex calendar. Teachers will report on Monday, the 10th. So a couple of more weeks here, and then we roll right back into our Flex calendar schedule. July 31st is when we will have our administrator in service. It will be at Mills River Academy. We're inviting all of you on the board to join us for lunch that day, and that'll also segue right into Mr. Campbell's legal updates that we make sure our folks have, and it's good for everybody to hear. August 14th is the first day of school for students on traditional calendar and the early college. So this year, instead of having 3 calendars, you will have 2. So Flex will be rolling at that point, and we'll kick off with students on August the 14th. Staff will report on Monday, August the 7th. And then also August the 14th will be the regular business meeting for the Board of Education. Closed session will begin at 3, but the meeting will begin at 4. Last two things, really looking to make 2023, 2024 the best one yet. Excited as we have completed 1 year. I want to thank everybody here in Harrison County Public Schools for an outstanding 2022-23. Thank you to all of our staff, all of our support folks in the schools and the many departments that we have. Really want to thank the families for choosing HCPS and entrusting us with your students. And thank the community for your encouragement and your support. It's a great place to be. And it looks like I will survive 1 year here in a couple of days, and excited to get started on year 2 with a great team. So thank you for the opportunity to share.
Absolutely. One last thing I would like to say, Ms. Clayton, if you could make sure by our July, say, 31st meeting, make sure that you have all of our dates for the upcoming board meetings. Get those ready for us, as well as our school visits and all that stuff. I like to have those a long time in advance if possible. If there's no other questions, comments, concerns, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
There's a second? All those in favor say aye. All right, we're done. Thank you.